Shalom. Welcome to today's edition of Rabbi Ron in the House. Here we have it, folks. Tree of Life Bible, Acts chapter 11. Peter here has been talking about the vision he has, reporting back to the leaders in Jerusalem. And he sits there and says, listen, hey man, if God gave them, the Gentiles, the same gift, the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, as also to us after we put our trust in the Lord Messiah Yeshua, who was I to stand in God's way? Keywords, who was I to stand in God's way? First thing comes to mind is, Peter there still, he's telling him that at first he just didn't understand this. And he's got he's got some hesitation there, as we talked about. He's got second thoughts. And he's sitting there thinking, this just doesn't make sense that Gentiles could just get in on this thing and get close to God. All my life I thought they weren't clean. And doesn't understand it. And then he said, but listen, God proved it. He gave them the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, just like we did on Shavuot. And so it's evident, it's God. And he says, even though I'm resisting, I don't understand this, I'm not comfortable with this, if I resist and put up a fight, he says, I'm trying to stand in God's way. I'll be standing in God's way. And Peter's like, who am I to stand in God's way? He says, listen, it's just not a smart thing to do. Do not try to stand in God's way. There will be times in your life, just like in Peter's life, that you won't understand what God's up to. There'll even be times you won't be comfortable. You won't like it. You'll say, God, I don't approve of that. Do you really know what you're doing right now today? And your flesh, your natural inclination will be to hold things up, to stop them, slow them down and say, God, maybe you better think about this a little bit longer before you go through and do this. Maybe you haven't thought it through all the way. You do that, you're standing in God's way. And Peter realized it doesn't pay to stand in God's way. We can't stop him. God's bigger than us. He's stronger than us. And so even if we don't understand, or even if we don't approve, it is useless, futile, a waste of time to try to stand in God's way, to try to hinder and stop what God is up to. Because God is more than capable of bringing his purposes and wills to come to pass, whether we're in agreement or in cooperation or not. And so it's real important to remember, like Peter, that even when we don't understand or even when we don't agree, don't waste our time trying to stand in God's way, because God will just blow and toss us aside, flick us like a little fly or a bug, and boom, we'll be tossed aside out of the way, and God will still go forward and do what he wanted to do. So it's a waste of time to resist or to try to stand in God's way. And so we just need to surrender and say, Father, you know best. Trust him. That's faith. That's trust. That's what it's all about. That he really does know what he's doing and has it under control. God's really thought it through. He really knows what he's doing. Have faith, trust, and confidence in God. Don't try to stand in his way. Cooperate with him, like Peter did here. Thanks for joining me. This is Rabbi Ron in the House.